Alright guys, so you probably read the title of the video, so I'm not gonna get too far into this, but yeah, this is basically uh, my overall take of the Altaic proposed family as someone who is not that um, professional with linguistics, but like kind of like know what a ton of terms mean and been following these sort of proposals. Uh, so as a quick roundup on how Altaic is looking now, it's basically been proposed that these Turkic, Mongolic and Tungusic, and I guess Koreanic and like all of these Eastern stuff are related to one another because they have a ton of grammatical and vocabulary similarities, and then it was noticed that they don't fit to a systematic sound pattern. Like if I don't know, say Turkish something starts with K, then Mongolic word should start with an H or like anything like this. Like none has been found very much, so the theory has been largely unaccepted. But the explanation that was given is that all of this is the result of borrowing. Now, okay, these words examining, like on whether what can borrowing do and cannot do to a language. Because the way borrowing happens is people live close to each other, one has a word for something that the other doesn't, or just finds the other word cooler, and they start using it in their own speech. I do it all the time with English and Serbian words when I'm speaking Hungarian and shit. Sometimes I implement other languages words in English, so like it's a common thing. English has a ton of this too. Now, you can borrow phrases also, and those phrases share other languages' grammar, which can then become, like influence other grammar that you would say. That also happened, like Old Norse grammar was picked up from English, and yeah, so like it seemed like it could be explainable what's going on just by the looks of it. But if we go back to the also, there's the whole thing that they're all like agglutinative, SOV, genderless, postposition. Like these are all very common stuff. It's kind of weird that all of them work with that. I guess Tungusic you can argue that it didn't really have vowel harmony when it started off, Manchu Tungusic, but besides that, like. But that's suspicious that like everything lines up so well. But let's ignore it. Like let's say that there was like a fucking ginormous borrowing that's going around in that Sprachbund. But still, if we go back to the argument that they cannot be related because they don't share a sound correspondence, the fuck does that have to do with anything? Because sound correspondence, if you take that for Bible, it's going to rule out borrowing also. Because like think about it. Let's say you have a language and it's got a ton of words. And let's say that all of the word initial back vowels are gonna be dropped. I don't know. I mean, like the word final back vowels are gonna be dropped. And then that language picks up a ton of borrowings from a neighboring tongue. Then those very same sound shifts are still gonna happen to these new words also. So, like, I've heard a theory, and I just cannot make it make sense. In like, if you borrow, like, let's go back to my example with Hungarian, because Hungarian is flooded with Turkic borrowings, okay? And there is, I don't know how many. I have found like one pretty solid correspondence, which is if a word initial k is followed by a front vowel, then that k is expected to become a y or a y. And that works very well for borrowings. But if you have a sound correspondence, then there should be expected to be an evidence for inheritance. Like, I very much hope that I misunderstood this, but it doesn't seem that way, because I haven't seen this like pop up anywhere or like anything. Like chat. Is this how it's supposed to work? Also, let's talk about it again. Like, there is a pretty solid chance that every language is related way back. Personally, I think that too. Like, there was that super volcano explosion like 70,000 years ago. Every Homo sapiens was wiped out except for one tribe in Africa. But language is expected to be like much older than that. So everybody who's coming from that tribe, they already have a language. And every human is coming from them, meaning every language must be coming from Africa from 70,000 years ago. And you cannot find these lexical correspondences like nearly anywhere. Like the actual amount of languages that are linked to each other, like the actual amount of links compared to how many languages there are, is puny. So like, I'm thinking, I don't know, bro. I don't know, like, I'm not sure how much of Altaic should I buy, although I've never seen like a better proposal. Like, I've seen Japanic being linked to Austronesian, and I have looked briefly into that. I think it's like very much possible that Japonic, Proto-Japonic is the descendant of Creole between some Koreanic and, I don't know, Formosan language. I don't really know. And that also would explain how Japanese is like a kind of simplified grammar. I'm not sure about what Okinawa's grammar is like, but I assume it's similar to Japanese's. And but yeah, guys, like Turkic Mongolic, I've seen people linking that to Uralic. I've also been thinking, is that some of the words that are proposed to be Altaic, like, they seem like very much like inventions and stuff. Like, if you have words such as, I don't know, your personal pronouns, like, those are gonna be inherited, yeah. But words like, I don't know, God. Okay, God may even be inherited, although that one's like kind of suspiciously similar. I don't know. But there's just some stuff that do seem like they're borrowing, and if you filter them out, you get to like something around as consistent and similar to each other that you might even link Uralic in there. Like, Altaic isn't very well established. It's kind of wonky. Like, there are people who call it a Sprakspoon. Actually, most people call it a Sprakspoon. There are people who link some stuff to it, but like only micro-Altaic, and there's also the on whether like Mongolic is a separate branch, or is it like Turkic Mongolian or Tungus Mongolian? Like, there's that whole mess also. I'd say let's go hog wild. Let's include Uralic too. Like, a good chunk of the Altaic cognates seem like cognates. Another good chunk of them seem like they're what's it called? Borrowings. Grammar-wise, I don't know. Like, that could be accident, but I feel like combined with the amount of borrowings, it doesn't seem all that likely. But there's a ton of like similar prefixes and suffixes. Like, if you go like all in, like Uralic and Altaic and Macro-Altaic, like, I don't know, stuff like O for like that. Like, there's a bunch of O and R starting in Hungarian, when something's like further away, and also like R and Rs as your definitive article, Ö as third person singular. And I think that might be related to Turkish O, which is also third person singular, and like there's a, I don't know which one, I think it's like A, like asoko for that one in Japanese. It's something like that, but I know that it's there. But yeah, like I don't know, stuff such as Proto-Uralic kune and Ainu kanna, like those I would believe, like, both of them meaning moon, like those I would believe that they're borrowing. But like ban from Turkic and Tungusic, B from Mongolic, and Minna from Uralic, like that doesn't seem like borrowing as much. That I do think is inherited, and also like the Sen and Sina, or like Ta and Te, which are all real second-person singular verbs in different like these Ural-Altaic languages. Like I do think that they're related, and then they got back in some contact zone, and then it just fucked up all the data. Like Altaic studies need to be revisited, and like with a fresh mind, like Trans-Eurasian. I'm pretty interested in like how that one's gonna progress. I see some promising trends in that. Japano-Korean reconstructions, I'm not sure how well that's gonna go if Japan will turn out to be a Creole. Although that's like kind of a niche theory, so I don't know like how realistic that is actually, because I'm not that much an expert either Koreanic or Austronesian. Yeah, so, like don't take my words for granted. This is just what I concluded to. Because like pretty much everything in the Altaic was, it doesn't line up systematically, it must be a borrowing. So like, but if borrowing will line up systematically too, if they got it from that same period, like the same chances would apply on the words, especially with the language already sounding similar enough that like I don't know, let's say you have a language that changes word initial cus into sus, and then they start borrowing stuff from a language that doesn't have word initial k almost at all. Like yeah, then there would be something like that. But the phonotactics of what language, as far as I know, they're like pretty close to each other on the proto level. So I don't know. I don't know, gang. This seems fishy. Like I think that Altaic is true. I mean, I personally think that every language is related to each other, but like Altaic, I specifically think that is true. And it may come from the fact that I only know Indo-European and like these Ural-Altaic languages, but I just can't overlook the pattern. Like I think that then that Ural-Altaic would be linked to Indo-European from like even way back. Like there's a bunch of like alignments with N, word initial N being for negative stuff, and then like word final M for first person singular, word final T, and S for second person singular, and like the word name being similar across all these like nom. And I see a lot of people say that that's because they're such common sounds, which would be valid, but then they shouldn't be perfectly aligned. Like then they should be like while there no language in the area where word final ta implies first person singular. Like yeah, you have like some of those in Native America, but like that's not even proposed to be remotely linked. But like here in Eurasia, these are just common features, and I doubt these are borrowings. Like honestly, it's just like if they're too far. Like I'm going to give you an explanation as for why I know lexical sound correspondences. Because if they're related too far, then there's been so many sound shifts that you just cannot find the pattern, because every word just gets their own unique case with them. Like there's no set of sound changes that like that exact same link of changes apply to two words, because there's just been so many of them. Like that's super realistic too, and like that would mean that the families are unprovable to be related with that logic. Like I don't know, there's got to be something better to do. I know, gang, you're probably gonna be more educated on this than me. Educate me in comments. I know, guys.
Everybody knows that I'm dozing. Everybody knows that when I'm frozen. And everybody knows that I get frozen.